Hi, and welcome to the Taco Cast. I'm Crystal,
I'm Will.
and you're our audience today. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday. So, today I thought that we would discuss a little bit about online spaces, how they contribute to our sense of community, and what happens when we lose that community. And the reason I'm approaching this is because I was involved in a similar situation this week. I'm not going to get too terribly into specifics, but a page that I've been a longtime supporter of, um, an evidence based page. I follow quite a few of them. I've been a longtime supporter of this particular page. Uh, Recently, I'm not really sure what the best way to describe it is. I felt everything came completely out of left field, but another long term supporter of the page had made what, to my opinion, was a rather innocuous comment about how something could have been worded better. And that launched a 5-day tirade by the page owner that left a lot of us longtime page followers floored. Um, like I said, to me, it came completely out of left field. A couple of people were like, "Yeah, no, we saw this coming." Um, I'd never seen a content creator that I followed attack a supporter before. It was a novel experience, and I had a lot of conflicting emotions and feelings that were going on, and I realized as I was thinking about it that what was happening was something that I had studied academically but hadn't really experienced in real time before, and it was a loss of community. Now, we know that when people lose community, that's a big stressor for people. Lots of times when you're doing an assessment on somebody and you're figuring out where they're at, community support is a big thing that we look for. And community takes a lot of different forms. Your church, your faith based community is a community support network, your family, your friends, your work friends. We all have lots of communities that we belong to. I belong to several professional communities. I worked in clinical lab for a lot of years, and even though I don't work in clinical lab anymore, I've maintained those connections. They are still part of one of my communities, my current professional community. And I'm newer in the field that I'm in now, so those community bonds aren't as strong, but they're developing. Um, your like I said, your professional, your friendships, the beekeeping community. Will and I were very active for a long time. As the rest of our lives became more active, we kind of pulled back, but we still keep ties with people in the beekeeping community. And so everyone belongs to multiple communities, faith-based communities, friendship communities, shared interests. And like I said, I had studied the effects of loss of community on people, but I hadn't really experienced it before. And after some introspection, I realized that that's what was going on. It was a loss of community because no longer being able to support this content creator, I now have lost most of the people that I communicated with on a daily basis that were there. Now, a lot of us have established other friendships, and I'm friends with a lot of these people outside of that community, but it's still a thing that happened and it still has a profound impact. Now, this particular situation had ripple impacts because this content creator was peripherally associated with several other content creators and a charity that I've been a longtime supporter of and things like that. And uh, this community breakdown has had a large ripple effect to all of these other communities, because nothing exists by itself. We all exist in relation to other things. Anyways, it was disconcerting to watch in real time as this happened. Again, I think probably the biggest thing though was watching a content creator attack a supporter. Um, it I hadn't seen that before, at least not in the community that I supported. It was difficult, but I wanted to bring that up because a lot of people dismiss online communities as part of your support network. And in today's society, they're very much part of your support network. In fact, a lot of people in today's environment with COVID, people are a little bit more isolated, but we're reaching out more in online spaces. Those online communities may even be stronger sources of support for individuals than your in-person communities are, because we're getting more contact.
Okay.
I just monopolized like the first like 10 minutes of that. So, Will, you're you are a prolific content creator. So I'm actually kind of interested to get a content creator's point of view on that. Like, uh, what do you think as far as like online communities? Because you have a community.
True.
Yeah. Like, people who know each other and frequently see each other in your chats and whatnot. And
Yeah. What's the was the my take on what happened to the community you were involved in, or
in general, online communities, like as far as like their support. Um, I know I didn't really talk to you a whole lot about what was going on there, than
well,
just be like, "Oh my God, what?" Yeah, so I understand that.
I've worked really hard at building the community that I have, um, and it's disconcerting when something like that happens. Uh, I know that at the same time, though, that something is innocent can be taken the wrong way, and those who I don't know what you call them, like on the fringe of the community, can quickly turn on you and start, to try to convince other people that they are right, or that you are an evil, sob, or whatever you want to say. I've seen that happen. But when it comes to my community, I've tried to keep them interacted, and ask questions and keep the conversation going.
So
But
you feel invested in the community,
oh yeah,
for your.
I have to, I want to, but it's hard. It can be gone in a moment's notice because people just decide that they don't want it anymore. So, but and at the same time, devaluing the entire relationship, between creator and supporter, and not necessarily knowing, they'll tear you down. It's the internet, right?
The internet never forgets.
Right.
And never forgives. No one is allowed to make a mistake
They'll
online.
they'll tear you down in a heartbeat, and without knowing or caring, about those who it is their only source of outreach, of community. And maybe they don't have a church group, they don't have a local community, because of what's been going on with COVID and everything else. Everybody's been locked away in their homes for so long they can't get out and do anything.
So in your I'm not in them very much. I really ought to follow Will's channel more. Um, in the spaces in which your followers interact and whatnot, do you see like a core group of common followers who are almost always there, and then maybe a secondary group who's there but not quite as frequently, and then the drop in?
Yeah, uh, you know, uh, definitely a core group that um, they consume just about everything, content wise, that I put out. They watch just about everything. They comment on just about everything. But in the community, itself, yeah, they're there just about every day. And then I put it in three groups. There's a core group, the secondary group, and then the ones that I call the hanger-ons. They're just there waiting for me to make one slip up. so they can, ridicule me, to death. And then they go on to another community, and then they just keep the ball rolling.
Babe, are you saying you got haters?
Of course you do.
I think that means you made it.
No, uh, I'm never going to make it. I'm never going to be, the next wow, or rising star or whatever they call it. But
From a community point of view, I think that that's good, though. Maybe not good for you as a creator, right? But from a community point of view, the larger the community grows, the harder it is for the creator to engage individually. And
it
um,
is.
I get the impression that that's something that you enjoy doing, is being able to be connected to your community.
Yeah, but it's overwhelming at times. A lot of people then don't realize, they don't make the connections, like, why are you not communicating with us? In a given week, I get 7,000 messages, that are directed to me, not just, comments, on an actual video or content that I put out, but 6 or 7 thousand comments. It's like, hey, can you tell me a little bit more about this? Can you tell me about this? I actually directly asking me a question. I can't get to even 10% of that in a week, because as soon as those 6 or 7 thousand come in, I got 6 or 7 thousand more coming right behind them. So it really is difficult to try to keep up. I'm one person, and I really could. I mean, if I put it on the calendar, to actually blocked out time just to reply to comments, and that's all I did all day long, I still couldn't keep up with it. Because as I get into the old ones, there are new ones that are constantly coming in. But it's, at the same time, I try to keep a community, going, but YouTube in itself uh, doesn't do anything to uh, encourage, I guess would be the best way to put it. Encourage a community. It's like, hey, watch this person, subscribe to this person, click the bell icon. You just drone on and on and on about the same things every day. And it's just like, no, forget this.
Subscribe, click the bell.
Yeah. But
isn't that what they tell us to do? They tell us to end every video with telling people to subscribe.
Well, no, we're supposed to actually, according to YouTube, they want us to, in a 15-minute video, we are supposed to mention it a minimum of 4 times, or put something on the screen. Tell them where the bell icon is and where the subscribe button is.
Wouldn't you guys find that distracting from the content? I would think it would.
I do. I find it annoying myself to watch a channel and content that is out there, just to see them, over and over and over again, pitching, hey, subscribe, give us a like, give it a thumbs up, while you're at it, here's my PayPal link, why don't you send me all your money?
Gotta respect the hustle, though.
Gotta respect the hustle, but I can't bring myself to do that, and especially to my community, though, and to ask them, because I know a lot of people are hurting out there,
especially nowadays.
With COVID shutdown and unemployment and food insecurity levels that are so high right now, and around the world, not just here in America, but around the world. And I think it's the worst time to to pitch. Hey, why don't you go ahead and buy my my fan gear? Buy a T-shirt, a hat, or and send me your money. Sign up to do this. I think it's the worst time to do something like that. And I know, if for my community, though, again, back to the topic, if I was to drown on about how much I need their money, or anything else, it feels disingenuous. Yeah, disingenuous. Oops. Oh, there's a couple comments right there. So after screwing that up, I'll definitely see those. But
yeah. So, now that we've discussed community and online community and how it relates to people, I want to give people a few tips. First off, like I said beforehand, most people have multiple communities, even if you don't necessarily think of them that way. Your And we use them for different things to fulfill different needs. Typically, you're not going to rely on your professional community to support you through an emotionally trying time, but you can. Odds are in your professional community, there are at least a couple of people that do feel close enough to you to be able to help support you. Now, again, maybe you're not there yet. Like I said, I've maintained my relationships with the people that I met when I was working in clinical lab. We still get together on occasion. We have a Facebook chat, and we've got we have a group chat going on. Um, so it's I've maintained those relationships, and my relationships in anatomical lab are newer. I probably wouldn't call up one of the other supervisors and okay, oh god, da 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 da. But we're approaching that part. When I had that stuff that went on with my doctor on Monday, which is a obnoxious story, I did take a few minutes out of our supervisors meeting to kind of complain about that a little bit and get it off my chest. And the other supervisors commiserated with me. We're not to the point of calling them up at midnight yet when Will here makes me mad and I want to throw him out of a window, but getting there. The point being, as I digressed and off that point, is that we have multiple communities and we're going to be using them to support in different ways. But you have many more communities, oftentimes, that you don't think of. You have your faith-based communities, if you belong to one of those, your professional communities, and your special interest communities. Chances are there's somebody in those communities who's also able to support you and feels close enough to you to want to support you through a trying time. So if you find yourself losing a community, and it's not necessarily something like what happened that I went through when we lost that community there, sometimes it's just as simple as people moved away. There's no longer a group of people that share your interest in the area, something like that. Lean on your other communities. Even if you're not going to be leaning on them in the same way that you did on the other community, taking a little bit of that time that you used to invest in that previous community and focusing it on one of your other ones, you're still going to feel the loss of community. There's nothing that can really take that away, but refocusing some of that energy on one of your other communities will help support you through that time of transition. Church services. Multiple churches offer multiple services throughout the week. If you find yourself losing a hobby-based community, you may find yourself going through that gap by going to a couple of other services or attending social functions that maybe you didn't attend previously in your faith-based community. If you have multiple hobbies, say you do model trains and you also quilt and your quilting community dissolves, pick up a couple more trains. By the way, I know exactly zero about model trains other than that they're a thing that exists and my stepfather used to sell them. So I'm using that as an example. There may be reasons. There's somebody out there in the model train community right now who's like, it does not work that way. And it very well might not, but I'm just kind of like using that as a general example. But do spend additional time in your other communities and take a little bit of time proactively to see where those communities are at. It was something that I had read about academically, nothing that I had put a whole lot of thought to personally until I found myself losing a community. And then I actually took a moment to step back and I was like, well, where are my other communities? And that's when I was like, oh, I have got the gals from the laboratory and, the beekeepers and the dice makers. Even though I haven't made a single die yet, I've joined die making communities because it's something I want to get into, and I'm starting to join those communities and stuff like that. Gaming communities. One of the gaming communities that I belong to is such a supportive group. You can literally go on there and say, I'm having a big sad right now, make me happy, and hundreds of people will drop jokes into your comment line for you to help cheer you up. It's actually pretty nice to see.
So we're talking about just online communities only?
Yes. Well, yes and no. I did mention some physical communities because some people still have access to those.
I wish I did.
But part of the reason for bringing them up
COVID
is that
sucks.
it does.
It's real.
is that a lot of people discount online communities and their impact on an individual, and they do in fact have a strong influence on our lives. Again, the gaming community I was talking about, it's entirely online. I have not met a single one of those people in person, and yet there's several of them that if I was having a really, really bad day, I could message and tell them what was going on. And man, I can't help you from Australia, but I can commiserate with you and send you some memes and, maybe call you and we can talk about it. And, that's your online community, and it's still just as powerful as your in person community.
Hmm. I know as people get older, we lose friends, people move away. In retirement, you may not have the professional community that you once had.
Mhm.
You may not have the close friends or, the friends who were in the area because, the people die off or whatever. So what should somebody do if they find themselves in that situation? Where maybe they had, a close knit professional community and they had a, community of friends in the area. But, as we got older, we lose friends because, gosh, knows, we're not getting any younger here. And
Speak for yourself, old man.
I know, right? Every year it just seems we're losing more and more of our friends. You know, I guess it's just life, right?
So if
But
you find yourself with, fewer communities to lean on than you thought you would, from a situation like you're talking about, where people have moved and people have passed and you're retired, you're no longer part of those professional communities. The number one thing I would suggest is reaching out in your community to a community center or something like that, because chances are there are other people in your situation who are looking to connect with somebody else. Our local community center has got it's like open hours or something like that, where basically like social hours, people can come. They've got puzzles and stuff like that, and you can play puzzles. I'm not a big card game person, but they've got an ongoing card game. See if something like that exists in your area. See if something like that exists online, especially if you've got mobility issues or if you're homebound. A lot of places nowadays have something similar, but in an online space that you could do. And if not, and you've got the time and the energy to spare, see about being the person who puts that together. Chances are there's probably a lot of people in your community in a similar situation who would like to connect with others, and maybe they're just needing someone to put that together. But again, if you have the emotional resources to do so, take care of, especially if the desire is coming from a recent loss of a community. You want to make sure that you've got the emotional resources to do so. I would hate to see somebody, put themselves in a position where they're like super stressed trying to put something together when they're still handling a loss, because losing a community is a loss. It's not a loss on the scale of, you losing a loved one, but you have lost something and you have lost support, and it's going to take a little while to bridge that gap while you get the fulfillment you were getting from that community someplace else. And again, everybody uses their communities for different things. You use your professional community differently than you use your faith community, differently than you use your gaming community.
I see that a lot though. Within my community, since we were talking about mine, is people if they do make a comment that is outside of the scope of true crime related or crime fiction related, they other people will come down on them, and which is wrong, by the way. I mean, I've never had any of my moderators do it, and I've never done it myself, but people do reach out, and they do make comments about their day-to-day lives or whatever, but it doesn't mean that we do should disvalue
Yeah.
you know those comments in that individual. So anything else?
No, that is about it for today. But I hope everybody has a lovely Sunday, and hopefully, what we've talked about today can help somebody.
Thank you for joining us today.
Have a great day.
Bye.